Hey cats and dogs, this is Vitamin. Welcome to another Minecraft video. Let's talk about blocks. Minecraft is made up almost entirely of these three-dimensional geometrical shapes, and correspondingly they've been pretty darn important. Most blocks stand strong on the pretty high pedestal they've been set upon, but on occasion there are just those blocks that really don't live up to the same standards as the rest. Whether they be way too rare for what they're worth, completely useless, or just straight up ugly. These are my top 5 worst blocks in Minecraft. Now, I'm going to be rating these blocks based on 3 things: vanity, utility, and rarity. In simpler terms, how ugly is it, how useless is it, and how rare is it? A disgusting block that's easier to obtain will be ranked lower than a block that maybe looks a bit better, but is more difficult to obtain. Anyway, let's cut to the chase. But before we start, of course, this is all my personal opinion. There will be people who like the blocks that I've put on this list. I've tried my best to keep the facts mostly factual, but the same can't be said about how a block looks, per se. But enough delay. Let's dive into the 5 worst blocks, at least I think, in Minecraft. Coming in at number 5 is Sponge. Sponge, like a lot of the blocks on this list you'll see, is a pretty good idea on paper. A block specifically designed to help drain water from areas. Excellent for underwater builds and bases. It sounds great until you put it into practice. Sponge has such a low radius compared to most lakes and oceans that it barely makes a dent in all the huge waves, if at all. 9 times out of 10, the water will simply fill back up again, and now you have a wet sponge and a room still full of water. Even then, it is still better than what it once was. For a long time, sponges had no function. But once 1.8 rolled around, it was given its water-soaking function as well as a new texture. Now, while I must say its new texture is indeed better than the old, that isn't saying much. The strange, yellow, cheese-looking block has trouble fitting in anywhere. And considering it is only found in the ocean monuments, without a guarantee of more than 3, it doesn't do it any favors. Now, I'd like to specially mention wet sponges as well, as they're in the same boat as dry sponge. I considered putting only the wet variant on here, but decided to group them both together, despite the wet sponge having no function other than being just an extra step to make use of sponges. If sponge is cheese, then wet sponge is a moldy cheese. Both look generally bad, do their jobs poorly, and I'm grouping them both here at number 5. Now coming in at number 4 is Glazed Terracotta and all of its variants. Now, expect to hear this phrase a lot. This block has potential. A mosaic-type block is an excellent idea at first glance. It could have added a new, deeper layer to decoration and buildings in Minecraft, but instead we got varying colors of vomit condensed into blocks. Apparently it was so bad a wave of people abandoned Minecraft because of these disgusting-looking blocks. I have no real evidence other than YouTube comments and Twitter posts, but it's more interesting to think that people would rather never play a game again rather than have the chance of seeing these blocks. So, other than the textures bright enough to make you go blind, what else do these amazing blocks have to offer? Well, for starters, they can be extremely tedious to obtain in the first place. First, you need to find a clay, then break those to get clay balls, then combine 4 of those into a block, then smelt it in a furnace just to make hardened clay, then you have to dye it whatever color you want, then run it through a furnace again just to receive a single glazed terracotta block. In that time, you could have just used regular hardened clay blocks, which is generally much better looking. Now, even with all that, these blocks do come with a function. They're the only blocks in the game that are unaffected by slime blocks, and are also still movable by piston. That sounds great, but if you really think about it, when's the last time you've seen it really put into practice? It is really no more useful than note blocks, furnaces, or obsidian. And now that I mention it, all of those blocks look a lot better and are generally easier to obtain. Glazed terracotta can be used well, but requires the whole build around it to be structured around the terracotta, instead of the other way around, which is the way it should be. So, just like vomit, let's put these blocks in the toilet, flush it, and forget it ever happened. Now coming in as the number 3 spot, coral. I might get a bit of flack for this, but I really don't see the excitement behind the coral blocks. Yeah, they look pretty good in their own biome and make the ocean a lot more lively, but it generally only looks as good as it does underwater. As soon as you take it above land, it either dies or looks out of place. Actually, now that I think about it, I see the dead variants being used a lot more than the live versions. Funny, isn't it? Just like the glazed terracotta blocks, being bright and colorful doesn't really help in this strangely dark game of Minecraft. When pretty much half of the blocks in the game are gray and black, it doesn't always help to stand out. To add to all that, coral has no real use other than spruce up underwater biomes, and depending on your luck, it can be found just around spawn or thousands of blocks away from it. Either way, I'd find no real use out of coral blocks, at least out of their living forms. Now the number 2 worst block is Podzol. If your block actually looks like literal poop, and it isn't supposed to be literal poop, you might have a problem. I can bet that some of you watching this video probably forgot Podzol even existed. And frankly, so did I when I started this list. Sadly, not every bad block has the luxury of being casually brushed to the side. Aside from its kind of disgusting appearance, Podzol is only found in the Mega Taiga. And not to mention that the Mega Taiga biome is one of the rarest biomes in the game. Not a good start. But listen guys, Podzol is cool, because you could put mushrooms on it, regardless of light level. Wow! But guess what, Mojang? Nobody really cares about mushrooms, frankly. In all actuality, there's so little to say about Podzol, I can't even think anything else up to say about it. No joke. Now there are 2 honorable mentions that I'd actually like to specially mention, because they were both closest to making the list, and for very similar reasons. First is the quartz block. The default quartz block has kind of been left in the dust ever since it was first introduced. There weren't very many purely white blocks in Minecraft, and you'd think that quartz would have become the standard, but apparently it just wasn't meant to be. Even without concrete in the game, snow was still the go-to for most modern builders, and when concrete was introduced, quartz was left for dead at that point. But the story isn't over yet. What saved quartz is its different variants, specifically slabs and stairs. If quartz didn't have these, it would have been totally forgotten. But behold, quartz, slabs, and stairs, the only of their kind, are still prominently used in many builds to this day. And still, quartz is relatively easy to obtain, making it even better. Then the other one is purpur. I've seen purpur get its fair share of flack, and it's understandable. Purple is probably one of the colors used the least in Minecraft's color scheme, and making it fit into any build takes some real trial and error. But what saves purpur is, strangely enough, its own self. Well, and end brick. The end-themed blocks, while kind of ugly when put next to other blocks, actually work really well when left by themselves. The purple and cream color palette works great in the end dimension and makes the cities look really fantastical. And I think that was kind of the point. The end is really isolated in its own little world, not supposed to fit in with the overworld or nether. So what if it doesn't work with grass or wood? And unlike quartz, quartz is farmable, meaning you can get as much purpur as your heart desires. And the number 1 worst block in Minecraft is mycelium. Where do I start? Well, for starters, I think mycelium could be Podzol's special needs relative. While having some of the same attributes, such as being a variant of dirt and generally being kinda rare, it is totally dysfunctional in other areas where Podzol might have succeeded. Just like purpur, it has the weird purple magenta coloring, making it immediately stick out like a sore thumb in most builds. Second, it is only obtainable in the mushroom biome, which just so happens to be the rarest biome in the game. Not only that, but you can't even get it without the use of Silk Touch, otherwise it just gives you dirt. And remember how Podzol could grow mushrooms? Well, so can mycelium. Yay, but you know what mycelium can't grow? Trees. Freaking trees. A pretty much essential material for basic survival. You also can't grow sugarcane, melons, pumpkins, or any kind of crop. If you want to grow anything, you'll have to bring dirt with you to plant on. But be careful, because mycelium can overgrow that dirt and prevent you from growing crops on it. So, unlike any of the other blocks in this list, not only is it useless, it can actually harm you. Well, not literally, but you know what I'm getting at. Mycelium literally checks all of the boxes. It's ugly, it has basically no purpose other than to make up a biome, and is way too unnecessarily rare. It is quite literally a super rare block that will actually hurt your survival experience. Unless you like not having any wood, or crops, or mobs. The only reason you would ever use this is to purposely handicap yourself. And that, my friends, is why I think mycelium is the worst block in Minecraft. Now, like I said at the beginning, this is all my silly little unpopular opinion. So if your thoughts differ, which they most likely will, let me know down in the comments what you think the worst block in Minecraft is. Maybe you think diorite should have been number 1. Or maybe you think mycelium's really cool and shouldn't be on this list. Nonetheless, these are the blocks I found to be the most useless, most ugly, and most unneedingly rare. But, as always, if you like this video, make sure to leave a like so I know you like it. If you really like my videos, feel free to subscribe. This has been Vidiben, and if you like these top 5, top 10 kind of videos, tell me down in the comments. Give this video a like so I know to make more of them. And as always, this has been Vidiben, and I am out of here. See you guys.